Here's how you can use Python to automate a part of the music production process. Now, whenever I'm working on a new idea, a music idea, I will create a session folder, which will just be called session, and then the date, and then maybe like something about maybe if I'm using a specific sample or instrument, or maybe where I am, so maybe if I'm on the train or something like that, just so I remember what the idea was about. And then I'll have this in this kind of like idea dump directory. And then as I'm filling out the directory, so you can see I've gone to, well, this is a song of mine called A Fine Line. This one I've finished a while ago, and it'll have all the necessary folders. So I've got a folder for my Ableton project files. If I'm going to create some kind of Spotify canvas, the cover art, track export. So this will be like versions of mix downs, and then when I try to, pre-master, master sort of stuff. And then if I'm making a video or like some kind of animation or something like audio reactive or whatever. So I have all these folders for each project I'm working on. Now, when I'm doing this for every single idea, it's not a lot of work, but it adds up, right? And I think when it comes to creativity, I'm all for making whichever medium you're working in, making it as accessible to you as possible, and like minimizing that initial kind of friction to access the medium. Or so, for example, with music production, it's a case of, maybe you're wanting to, for me, I'll have to create the directory for the session I'm working on, add these additional folders, maybe copy across an Ableton template session, which is something I use, which is just an Ableton session, which I've kind of like built out the tracks and all the sends and the presets I like, just so I don't have to waste time rebuilding all those things, like having a utility with mono, and I can flip through on the main chain, that sort of stuff. So I wrote a Python script which basically builds out this whole file directory, copies across the Ableton session, and opens up the template session that's been copied, and also opens up this new created directory if I wanted to add anything, and it's immediately there for me. I don't have to go digging for it. And I do this all in my Dropbox as well, so it means that I can access this on wherever. It doesn't have to be specifically this computer, but yeah. So let me give you an example of how this might work. So I have this shortcut here called New Music Idea, and I've just changed the icons, and I have this on my desktop. So this links to the Python file. So once I open this, it'll open up the Python file and get it started running. So if I double click on that, it'll open up a screen that just says session note. And this is just for me to give a descriptor of the idea I'm working on. Now, obviously, because this will be before I've actually made the music idea, I won't know what it's going to be about, or what samples it use, or what's the main element, etc. So usually I'll just write a description of like where I am when I'm writing this idea. So for example, like right now I'm at my desk, so let's say at my desk. And then if I press enter, it'll go ahead and make the directories. You can see there at my desk, and also within the project files, it's created a copy of my template, called it mixed version 1, and it's already opened. You can see in the background, it's opened up my my template Ableton session. The script itself is pretty straightforward. I mean, you just need to make sure you have these libraries installed. I think some of them are actually with Python, so you don't need to manually install them, but you'll just need to make sure you have Python installed as well. And then you just need the two directory paths. You need the one of where you want these folders to be created. So like I said, I have an idea dump folder, so it'll be within that. So you just need the path directory of that folder. And then you'll also need the directory of your template session. Now, to be honest, I think, I see no reason, if you don't use Ableton and use some other DAW, there's no reason why this wouldn't work if you had like a template FL or Logic session. And then it'll go ahead and make it, and then it'll open both the folders and the Ableton session. And here is where you kind of like define the folder structure. You can change this however you'd like. So yeah, I mean, if this is something that's you might think is useful. I mean, some people might find this just to be a bit overkill, but to be honest, it's just if you're churning out a lot of ideas regularly, it's just a small change that you can make that makes it just that little bit more accessible and reduces that friction. So you just open up your computer, laptop, whatever, and press this button and it's all kind of configured. And it's also quite good as well because it means that how you structure and save all of your sessions and ideas, etc., is, you know, fairly organized and consistent. So over time, yeah, you're kind of building out a organized, you know, collection of ideas and stuff. But yeah, if this is of interest to you, if you just comment below Python automation, and I'll just DM you a Dropbox link for this script. And you know, if you'd like the Ableton template session, I can also send that as well. Although I would kind of say that, you know, it's really good to kind of make it yourself, make it your own, and kind of personal to what your preferences are and what tools and plugins, etc., you need, and how you configure your tracks and sends, etc. Because it's all about making, you know, your life easier and making it more comfortable and whatnot.